2.2, Structures, Powers, and Functions of Congress. So this is a slightly longer topic, so I'm going to try and be quick with it. Also, we'll be reading more so from my notes in the book, but the notes are like right out of the book, so. But I just like to give that as a little forewarning, because sometimes it like changes the way I relay things. Anyway, let's start. Okay, so policymaking structures and processes. Congress is organized by House, political party, leadership, and committee. And the party with the most members is considered the majority party. Now, leadership. Before the actual vote for, like, leadership, people will, like, meet before and figure out, like, the vibes and what we're feeling, but then the real vote happens when Congress opens. House leaders. We have the Speaker of the House, which is the only House leadership position in the Constitution. They hold significant power, and they recognize members for floor speeches and comments, organizes members for conference committees, and they have a lot of influence in lawmaking. Now, majority and minority leaders. They direct debates from among, like, party members, and they are the first members recognized in debate. They're kind of like the party spokesperson. They're kind of like floor leaders. Now, a whip is the person in charge of party, like, discipline. Basically, they keep, like, a rough tally of, like, who's voting which way, and they'll, like, strong-arm members to vote within the party. They communicate, like, leadership views and assure party members remain in good standards. So they're kind of, like, keeping the party together, if that makes sense. Now, party leaders. The president of the Senate is the vice president, and they are non-voting. The president pro tempore is a ceremonial position, and that goes to the most senior member of the majority party. The Senate Majority Leader holds lots of power. They're the chief legislator, and they determine which bills reach the floor. And so they guide party, caucus, and, like, strategy as well. Now, this thing called committees. Few different types of them, and that's kind of like Congress people coming together and figuring things out, almost in like little breakout groups. So let's start with standing committees. These are permanent committees that are focused on particular policy areas. So you think like standing, like permanent, like it stays standing throughout the entire thing. And like members of Congress can become specialized in certain topics, and because of like the advice and consent thing that happens for the Senate, they have them for confirmation hearings. For example, the Appropriations Committee is the largest like in the Senate, and that is for Senate spending. Committee chairpersons, so they are the senior members in the majority party who are like the most experienced on that committee, and the vice chair is then the senior person of the minority party. And like this is like a position in the committee that you hold, and like you're kind of like taking charge of it, I guess. The House Ways and Means Committee, this is like a specific committee. This is House exclusive, and they deal with taxes. There is also this other category of committees called joint committees. They unite members of the House and Senate, so like members of the House and members of the Senate are both in these committees. They're joining together. For example, like the Library and Printing Committee. Select committees are temporary committees which serve like a purpose that's short-lived and very specific. And finally, conference committees. These are temporary, and these are specifically to like iron out a bill between the houses. It's a little markup session. This is like, we passed this version of the bill and we passed this version of the bill, so it's like a type of joint committee, and we're gonna like figure out this bill for finalized, like, you know, temporary just for that bill. Now, committees and rules unique to the House. Now, for the House, there are lots of rules to limit debate, and they only allow germane amendments, which are amendments like very relevant to the bill. They have to use all like their titles and stuff and be all like professional, and they have a rules committee. The Rules Committee is very powerful. They can easily dispose or define debate for a bill, and they are in control of the floor and what bills enter, and this determines which bills are then voted on. La-da-da-da-da. They also have the Committee of the Whole, which includes but doesn't require all representatives. And this is because it's more of like a state of operation, because this is when like the rules are relaxed with longer debates and all that type of stuff. So only 100 members present is required to like be in this state of operation, to have the Committee of the Whole. And when finished with the bill, then it will like rise and report the bill so that it will hopefully be like done without the Committee of the Whole like actually decided and voted on. Now there's this thing called a discharge petition, which is this petition to bring a bill like out onto the floor when a committee maybe doesn't want it out and you only need a simple majority. So, like, say there's this bill that people want to vote on, but, like, the committee in charge of, like, bringing it up or whatever, they're like, no, we don't want to really vote on this quite yet. But if more than half the people want to, then they have to. And, like, the bill is going to happen. The bill is going to be voted on. Discussion will happen. The House also has the Armed Services, Judiciary, and Energy and Commerce committees. But now for the Senate. In the Senate, you can speak longer. If you're struggling to remember which, like, the Senate has less people, so it makes sense that you have more freedom to, like, speak in that way. You can also propose non-germane amendments, aka riders. So, like, amendments that don't seem super relevant to, like, the purpose of a bill. You can propose those. Filibustering is also a thing. Basically, you stall a vote on the bill, but you just have to, like, talk the entire time. So you're just, like, talking and talking and talking to stall, like, this vote on the bill. And you can talk for as long as you want, unless there's, like, I think a super majority to stop it. But we'll get into that later and get more specific on it. It just goes to show that you have more freedom to talk in the Senate. They also have this thing called unanimous consent and the hold. So before they, like, get down to business and start talking about the bill, they will ask for unanimous consent to discuss. But if there's somebody that, like, objects, the motion is put on hold. There's also this thing called the cloture rule. This is what I was talking about with the filibustering. So basically, it used to be 2/3, now it's a 3/5 supermajority to stop debate and go to voting, which would end a filibuster. Senate does more, like, foreign duty stuff, and they have committees, Finance, Armed Services, Foreign Relations, Judiciary, Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. There's a little graph table thing on page 114. Now I'm going to direct you to page 116. How a bill becomes a law. Look at that if you want more information, but in simple terms, someone comes up with the idea for a bill, and they draft it, and then it's sent to the Senate or the House. And then they either, like, take action or they don't take action. And, you know, they, like, go through, like, hearings, markup, and then they vote to report the bill. And they, like, write a report. And then there is, like, floor activity, and they debate, and they vote. And then if we need, we'll have a conference committee to iron out the details. Then the president signs or vetoes it. Then it's a law, printed and codified. La 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 la. Lots of stuff to pass through. Now, an omnibus bill addresses multiple areas of laws or, like, multiple programs, aka the Christmas tree bill, because it, like, has a bunch of ornaments. It's got a bunch of stuff that it's dealing with. Pork barrel spending, these are funds earmarked for, like, a specific purpose in the legislator's district. It happens when people try to bring money to, like, their district or region or space. And then the Senate Majority Leader / House Rules Committee are the ones assigning bills to committees. Sometimes they will assign one bill to multiple committees, and then they will work on it simultaneously or sequentially. Like I said, it has, like, a hearing, then it's marked up, then it's reported out, all the stuff I talked about in my little how a bill becomes a law. Then they get to vote. I learned about, like, 3 different voting models, but I don't think that's in the book, but that could definitely be helpful. And then log rolling is this idea of, like, trading votes so that they get support for, like, a bill of their own. Like, hey, I'll, like, vote for this, but you should vote for mine then. Kind of like that vibe. Now budgeting. It's long. Okay, so the Office of Management and Budget, or the OMB, this is the president's budgeting arm. And so reconciling the budget. Changes to revenue or spending is just done with a simple majority in both houses. Each chamber has an appropriation committee to, like, slot money to the federal projects. The Senate has a finance committee. There's a congressional budget office, the CBO. Individual income taxes. If you get an income, then some of that goes to the government, like there's taxes on your income. Corporate taxes, taxes paid by businesses on their profits. Social insurance taxes or payroll taxes, taxes paid by employees and employers to fund, like, Social Security. Tariffs and excise taxes. These are paid on certain imports, on luxury products, health risk products. And then there are other sources, like estate taxes. Little graph of categories. Page 120. Also page 121, government spending. Because we were just talking about how they get their revenue from taxes. So mandatory spending is the payment required by law for certain programs. Congress has passed, like, laws on that stuff, so it's, like, automatically spent. And deficit is the difference between the spending and the revenue. So we are in lots of national debt. Human resources we spend the most on. And then discretionary spending is the budgeting that like Congress will debate on and decide how to spend. Conservatives tend to argue to cut taxes, cut programs. Liberals tend to argue to tax the rich more. That was a lot. I hope that helped. Thank you. Also, I genuinely love to hear if this helps or not, and that like makes my day.